Hi there, welcome to Neighborly Natalie. I am your host, Natalie Parsons. Many of you know me as meteorologist Natalie Parsons, and usually the weather magic gets made in here, the Weather Center. And for those of you wondering, when it comes to TV magic, that all gets made right in our studio. You are kind of catching it right now when we are in off mode, but there you go. So you could catch a little bit of the behind the scenes. But for Neighborly Natalie, the magic is going to be made outside here, all across Southeast Louisiana and coastal Mississippi. Neighborly Natalie is a segment that has 3 different parts to it. First one is what I'm calling In Your Town, where I go out and about and explore a variety of different places, people, and things, and I share my experience with you. If there's anything that you would like featured on In Your Town, please feel free to go sending me an email at nparsons@wgno.com. I love hearing from you, and I want you to enjoy this segment as much as I do. The next part of Neighborly Natalie is what I'm calling Furry Friends, where I team up with a rescue or shelter and I introduce you to a furry baby in need of a forever home. And I actually did segments like this at my previous station, so I'm very, very excited to go bringing this here and get to share it with you because it's a cause that's very close to my heart. And then the last segment that's part of Neighborly Natalie is what I'm calling Up Nola, where I get to engage with you all on social media. You can sound off about various topics, you can ask me questions, and we just have a grand old time together. So I'm very excited to be kicking off the very first episode of Neighborly Natalie, and we're gonna just have a really fun time over the next few weeks exploring together and just seeing what trouble we can get into. And don't go anywhere because Furry Friends is up next. Welcome back to Neighborly Natalie. This is Furry Friends, the very first episode. I hope you don't mind my Mardi Gras tree Marty making an appearance in this segment. I actually dressed her for Carnival season. I was like, you know what? She's going to be a backdrop. You are in my apartment, very different from the studio, a little bit messy. But you know what? There's no better way for you to see me in my realest form than at home. And we're going to get right to exactly what this segment is going to be all about. Furry Friends is a concept that I have brought with me to a few stations now. It's where I'm going to go teaming up with a local rescue or shelter. That one is to be determined. And I really just want to help fur babies find their forever homes kind of in the way that I have over the years. And I figured to give you a better idea as to why this cause is so special to my heart, we'll start from the very beginning. When I was growing up, my family had 3 dogs. We had Rex first. He was an Akita, and I was very, very little when we had him. There's actually a picture of me basically sprawled out on him. He was double my size, and he was a gentle giant. We only had him for a little bit. And then we had Freckles, the Cocker Spaniel. She was cute as could be with her little curly floppy ears. And then next up it was Roxy Ann, who I say she was an angel sent by God, perfect in every way possible. She was a pit bull and she was just beautiful. I had her when I was going through, I guess it was like high school and college and post-college. So really kind of like the tough era of life where you're trying to find yourself. And then from there, after I moved away from home and went out to Fargo, I lived a few years there. And then when I got to South Carolina, while I was in transit and actually right before I left Fargo, I was dealing with a breakup where the guy ended up cheating on me. And I was very, very hurt, to say the very least. I think anybody who's ever been through a cheating thing, there's no greater act of disrespect as far as I'm concerned. And when I was in South Carolina, I felt like, you know, I wanted to care for someone or something that I knew wouldn't go trashing my heart in a way. And so I looked into fostering. And the first dog that I fostered was Carol Ann. That was through a rescue called Jesse's Place. She was like this 30-pound lab, cute as could be. Girl had some, you know, cojones, because she would go putting her big paws on my kitchen counter and go barking at me and being all demanding. And I'm like, you know, for a rescue, you were very verbal. Being that I was in a complex, she was kind of blowing her cover a little bit with her big mouth. So I only had her for a weekend, and then I drove her to Charlotte, North Carolina, where she got on this like van bus to be transported up to the Northeast, where she was ultimately adopted. So from there, I have my list here so I can remember. The next one was Posey. with a rescue called Palmetto Lifeline, also in South Carolina. She was cute as could be. She was like a few months old. She was this little teeny tiny thing, and she was gorgeous. But the first night that I had her, she was not as energetic as a typical dog would be, and it ended up that she ended up having kennel cough, which was my first experience ever with kennel cough. Usually pets get vaccinated, so that they don't go getting kennel cough, because it's pretty nasty. I only had her for a few nights, but I'm sure she got snatched up so fast. And then from there, also with Palmetto Lifeline, I had my first experience with a dachshund, also known as the wiener dog, the pretzel dog. Jerry was the first dog that I almost became a foster fail with. He was so cute. His tail was always wagging. He was just so cute. I was like, maybe this is the man for me. I think I only had him for like a weekend as a foster, but I genuinely fell in such love for this dog. And so he was on camera, and I helped him to find his forever home. Then from there, I started fostering with a rescue out in Columbia, South Carolina. This one is a rescue that very close to my heart. I will always love and adore, because this is the rescue that really truly changed my life, called Homeward Bound Pet Rescue. The next dog that I fostered, her name, she came in as Precious. She was a 10-year-old, I think they said she was a Chihuahua mix, but after fostering Jerry, I'm like, I think she may have some dachshund in her. She was 10 years old. She was the most beat up looking dog ever. She was so rough in the fact that she had had numerous teeth pulled. She had stuff removed on her face, on her body. She was 10. Her story is that she was found roaming the streets of Irmo, South Carolina. This little 6-pound dog roaming the streets, and the rescue got her. So I ended up fostering her. I think I had her for 2 weeks, and she was another dog that ended up getting kind of sick on me. She wasn't eating, so I ended up dropping her at Dutch Fork Animal Clinic also in Irmo, I believe, and that was all courtesy of the rescue, paying for her treatment. About 2 weeks or so later, the rescue contacted me to see if I could foster her again, and I was like, yes, absolutely. So I got her. I was so excited to have her back in the house, and I genuinely enjoyed my time with her. I had her for another week, and then from there, that following week, I went to go take her to another adoption event. We walked to the car, and she immediately starts shaking, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I know how much fun we have together. I love and adore this dog. Nobody's even looking at her. And so I became a foster fail with her. For those of you who've never heard the coined term foster fail, the concept of fostering is that you are just a bridge. You're a temporary home for these homeless pets, and you help them to get to that adoption point. And you always want your home to be open to these fur babies so you can keep helping more and more. But I ended up becoming a foster fail with her, and it's 1,000% one of the best decisions of my life. She changed it forever. Being that she was 10 and her health was kind of not that great to begin with, I only had her for 3.5 years. And when I say that I would have gone to the fires of hell for this dog because I loved her so much, I truly mean that. Within a year of me adopting her, I found out that she was renal disease. Towards the 2-year mark, I had to go giving her IV fluids for her renal disease twice a day. She started having seizures. They suspect that she had a brain tumor, and so that was pretty horrific. But I mean, she was just a gem. I remember it was December 2020. She was really not doing well. We were like going back and forth to the vet every like few weeks to a week. And that one, we were actually like in the room trying to figure out what to do. And I just, I looked at her and I didn't feel like it was time. I had been telling her over the last like few months, at that point, mommy will continue to fight for you, but when you can't do it anymore, you need to let me know because I can't go making that decision on my own. At one point, I remember the vet had told me that she was cold. So, you could take a big sock, fill it up with rice, and heat it up and give it to, like, put it next to her to warm her up. My dad, for Christmas that year, had given me these, like, absolutely hideous animal socks. I ended up filling one of them up with rice and tying a knot and heating it up. She would be in this, like, puppy stroller with this, like, big sock that looked like an extension of her body. It was the funniest thing ever. But that Sunday, I also had gotten her baby food in hopes to get her to eat because she wasn't really eating too much at that point. I mean, this is how much this dog loved me. So that night, I turned out the light, get into bed, and then I noticed that she's looking at me kind of weird. And I pulled her in, didn't really think too much about it, and then that following morning she was gone. She died in my arms. That's how, that I think was the biggest act of love that she could have ever done for me. So very, very grateful to that dog, and she changed my life. Ever since then, I've become even more of an advocate for adoption because it just means so much. After she passed, my apartment was so quiet. If you have a pet, you know they bring such joy and such laughter and such life into your apartment and your home. And so I started fostering again. I fostered this big pit bull. It was just a weekend fostering, or that's what it was supposed to be. It was a white pit bull by the name of Cello through Jesse's place. And she had mast cell cancer. As soon as I brought her into my apartment, she pranced to my bed, sprawled out, like she owned the joint. She was so cute though. But she was horrified upstairs, and I lived on the second floor apartment. And so shortest foster I ever had in my entire life. Another foster had to come and pick her up because as soon as I would open up the door, she would just sit there so stone cold, like, I'm not going anywhere. So I only had her for 4 hours. And then from there, I kind of went back to glancing over homeward-bound pet rescue dogs that possibly needed fosters. And I see this girl. So I go and I pick her up. And I find out at that point she's 18 months old. Had given birth to 7 puppies. That is not normal. Usually they're not supposed to get knocked up until 2. Obviously she was not that. But she was a skinny mini, and she was so unsure of things. She was just such a sad little puppy wuppy. That was February of 2021. There's this one picture of her. I used to kind of restrict her to the bathroom area where she is looking at me with these eyes like, what are you doing? She's always been the goofiest thing ever. I think I kind of knew that we were meant to be together because within the first, I'd say, few weeks that I had her facial features were so in sync and they were hysterical. Like, there were 3 pictures from when we first got together, and the rescue, I think maybe a few weeks in, was like, do you love her yet? And I'm like, how can you not love her? And then it was March of 2021 that we officially said, we do. And we've been partners in crime ever since. You know, that's what adoption is all about. It's finding your fur baby partner in crime who's gonna be with you forever and ever and ever. Through the good times and the bad times. You know, she's gotten me through a lot of stuff, and I'm thankful to have her. So this segment is very, very, very special to me. Well, I think I talked your ear off enough about the whole adoption foster thing. If you are interested in fostering, I'll be giving you more information about that over the next few weeks with the shelter rescue that I go teaming up with. Every single one of them always need fosters. They're always in need of help. They're always in need of donations because that's basically what they run off of. And it is something that will truly change your life. Don't go anywhere. We have more Neighborly Natalie on the way. And coming up, it's What Up Nola. I'll tell you more about that then. Welcome back to Neighborly Natalie. I'm your host, Natalie Parsons, and this is the portion of the show that we're calling What Up Nola, because it is a chance for you to participate in the fun. So every single week on social media, particularly my Facebook pages as well as my Instagram, you will see, I'm thinking this past week I started it on Saturday. I may actually start it on Fridays, and it is going to be a message appearing saying, hey, you have an opportunity to go asking me a question or sounding off about something. It's basically the opportunity for you to get involved, and you are the ones who steer the conversation. And then when the deadline comes, I go through the submissions, and then we kind of go from there. So the very, very first one is actually this is one of the special ones. Michelle's Southern Home Cooking and Living. She is actually a viewer from when I was working in North Carolina, and she's actually giving the Cajun Keto Chef, Mrs. Cajun Keto Chef Lash Wife, a big shout out. And she's also going on to say, this young lady was local to me in Eastern North Carolina, and y'all lucked up, and she's in NOLA now. Check her out. I've baked cakes for her and took them to her too. She'd love y'all. Nat, honey, here's a wonderful couple I adore now near you. So, little backstory. Michelle, way back when, I was in North Carolina, she actually baked 3 cakes for me, and they were incredible. One of them was a strawberry cake, another one was lots of chocolate galore, and it was just the most amazing thing ever. So if she is referring me to the Cajun Keto Chef, I'm pretty sure that he is awesome. And if you put keto and Cajun together, by all means, this is gonna be very, very awesome to go exploring. So I already sent a message to this person, and I hope that they are reaching back out, because I would love to go featuring them in Neighborly Natalie and actually sharing them also with you, and we can learn about them together. Next one. All right, we have Conscious Frequencies. They go saying, I would love to bring this South Carolina energy to NOLA. Keep grinding and staying blessed, friend. And this is actually somebody that I did a segment with back during South Carolina time. So we're talking 2017 to 2019. And of course, I went saying that this is a blast from the past. Thank you so much for sharing. This is an image to actually show you my friend who worked at Whattttt right in Columbia, South Carolina. I did a food segment with them, and you could just see that we were noshing on some of the amazing things in that aspect. It's always great to go connecting with people from my past. And here's another response from them. Good morning, friend. Yeah, you really changed my life with that blessings. The good old days. You know, some people get into this business because they want money, they want fame, this and that. But for me in particular, I love stuff like this, because for me, it's not about getting follows or views or anything like that. It's having an impact and interacting with people and seeing the relationships that last over years and years and years. So this is very, very special. Little walk down memory lane. I'm getting a little emotional. And then this next one. Okay, this is a little beefy. This is coming from a guy named Devin out in Pass Christian, so someone from our neck of the woods. And he is asking, what would you say is the best firearm for personal safety and why? Okay, so something that you guys don't know about me. I am a gun fanatic. And it's probably kind of comical because I grew up in New York, which is very, very strict when it comes to guns. And when I started out in this business, I actually was a news reporter. My first job was out in Fargo, North Dakota, and that was the first experience that I ever had. This is going to sound so goofy. It was the first experience that I ever had talking to a law-abiding citizen who was a gun owner. And I remember the exact conversation to this day. Now, I'm dating this. That conversation was either 2014 or 2015, and I was actually at my job, and I asked somebody in sales, I go, you know, why don't homes here have a home security sign outdoor? Because on Long Island, everybody has one of those. And I remember it was the general sales manager there who said to me, he goes, why do I need to have an alarm system? If anybody comes into my house, I have my dog and my gun. And I was like, oh, well, okay then. That totally changed my complete and total perspective about firearms, because law-abiding citizens are not using these to cause havoc. They're using them to protect their family, their friends, their property, and it kind of made me very, very interested. And when I moved to my next stop in South Carolina, I got my concealed weapon permit, and I've actually promoted firearm companies over the years, so this is a very fun question. First and foremost, I'd say in terms of the best firearm, it really depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a pistol? Are you looking for a revolver? Are you looking for an AR, a shotgun, rifle? Like, what type of firearm do you want? Once you narrow it down, you can kind of go from there. My expertise is more in the pistol realm because that's what I go using. And then also when it comes to pistols, do you want a 9mm or do you want a 380? Do you want to, what else do you want? My birthday was in December and I went shooting, and I was talking to the folks at the shooter club out in Harahan, and they told me that when it comes to concealed carry, more people go for 9mm, which I thought was interesting because a lot of times you hear a little bit of a push for 380, which is the teeny tiny one. That's actually the one that I gravitate towards because I am petite and tiny, and so you really need to go getting a firearm that fits your hand the best. I know for men, you guys will always go talking about Glocks. Day in and day out Glocks, but for me, I have no use for them. They are so heavy, I can't maneuver the barrel, I can't load it, and it's like the go-to for law enforcement. Law enforcement in Sumter, South Carolina, about a few years back, they actually signed on to go using Sig Sawyers, which is another brand that I absolutely love. They're pretty affordable, like $500, give or take. But, I don't like Glocks. Sigs are cool. Some people go liking Smith & Wesson. Those are okay. I actually did use one of those in December at my birthday shooting session. And my issue with that particular firearm, that was a 380, was maneuvering the barrel. And I had never had an issue before in loading the bullets. And in that particular one, I only could get like 4 or 6 loaded in. And I was like, what is this? So, you're talking to somebody who's petite, weak hands, weak wrists and stuff. I usually gravitate towards Rugers. I love them. We're talking the 380, 9mm. That is my brand all day, every day. When I was in South Carolina for my CWP, I used an FN, which was absolutely gorgeous, and I would love to go getting an FN someday. They're a little bit pricey, but they are just so pretty to look at. And but if you have more money and you're willing to get a more expensive firearm, I have a friend in Texas who actually works for Beretta, I believe it's called, and their guns are just so, they're a craft. They're absolutely beautiful. But my real rule of thumb here is to definitely go to a shooting range, try out different firearms, but more importantly, get educated on firearms. Learn the gun 101. Never put your hand on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. Also, treat every firearm like it is loaded. You just have to be so safe about it, and I definitely encourage you to take the courses, get a CWP, even though Louisiana is a constitutional carry state. Doesn't hurt to have that extra certificate, permit rather. But this is a absolutely fantastic question, and I hope that in our Neighborly Natalie segment, I can actually get out on a shooting range with one of our amazing ranges here and further educate you folks on gun safety and guns on the market. Maybe even later on, I'll go telling you about a firearm that I actually promoted. It was with a company called Liberty MFG, and it was a pen gun, which is really, really cool. If you'd like to know about the history of the pen gun, there is he is a Green Beret, and he's in the Army, and he actually has a book out called Codename Spike. Definitely go checking that out. I could go on and on about this. Thank you, Devin, for sending me this question. And if you would like to go participating in this particular segment, What Up Nola, I'd love engaging with you folks. Just be on the lookout on my Instagram and my Facebook. Put in the comments. Think Friday through Sunday is going to be the window. And I hope to go hearing from you. And definitely look forward to sharing the next Neighborly Natalie segment with you next week.